In this video, we're going to be working on the Our Client section for our full website build. Now, this section will consist of 2 rows with 4 columns each, and in each column we're going to be having an image for the company, and when you hover over it, the image for the company will go ahead and get enlarged, and it almost looks like it's coming at you, which is a really cool effect to go ahead and add some interactivity into this section. And then if we inspect it here to go ahead and see how it responds on mobile, you'll see here on a mobile look, we have them in one column. And then as you increase the size of the viewport here, we're going to be doing a 4-row, 2-column approach. And then once we get up to desktop, it'll be, as you've seen here, a 2-row, 4-column approach. So that is what we're going to be building. So let's head over to our index.html and get started. So to begin, we're going to start with a comment here, and we're going to call this clients. And then we're going to go ahead and open up our section tag here and also give this a class of clients. All right, so inside of here, we're going to start with our div to contain everything. So that's going to be a div with a class of container. And inside of this container, we're going to have a heading with a h2, and we're going to have this say our clients. All right. Now we need to go ahead and create our flex row. So how we're going to do that is by creating a div here with a class of flex row. All right, so inside of this flex rows, excuse me, we're going to be needing columns for each one of our images here. So how we're going to do that is we're going to create a class with a div of col, and inside of this column we're going to go ahead and have an image, and that image is going to be found in the image folder. If I can type right here, image. And then we're going to head to our clients folder here, and we're going to start with client1.png. And this is actually simply all the markup we need to go ahead and do for each column. So let's go ahead and copy and paste in the additional 7 of those. And that's going to be it for this markup for this section. So as I have stated in the previous videos here for this project, I will go ahead and leave all the markup down below in the description in a code pen. Not that this one is very difficult, but to save some time, I will go ahead and leave it down below so you can just copy and paste that in. So let's head over to our file here and let's see how things are looking. And as you can see, the images are flying off the screen because we don't have a width set on the images or anything really styled up. So with that being said, let's head over to our style sheet and begin to do that. So to get started, we're going to begin with our comment here of clients, and then we're going to go ahead and open up our clients class. Okay, now inside of here, we're going to start with a background color, and we're going to be using the color code of ECF5FF, and then we're going to go ahead and give this a box shadow of inset, and we're going to set that to 0, 0, 12 pixels, 0, and then we're going to give this an RGBA value here of black, so 0, 0, 0, and then a 10% opacity. We forgot the comma, 0.1, and there we go. So we take a look now, you'll see we have the same exact color that I believe we used here for the testimonials with the same kind of box shadow. All right, so moving back on along here. Now, what we're going to do after this is we're going to text align our heading to the center. So we're going to target the H2 here and set the text align to center. Next up, we want to target our flex row. And the only thing we're going to be adding to the flex row is the flex wrap property of wrap, which if you followed along with, I believe, the team section, we went ahead and used the same thing there. It just allows our row or our columns to collapse once they run out of room when we go ahead and set the flex basis for each column. Okay. Now, speaking of the column, we're going to go ahead and start to style up these. So to begin here, we're going to give this a max height for each column, and that's going to be 180 pixels tall. We're going to display this as flex. We're going to set the flex direction here to column. We're going to justify and align the content to the center. So we're going to use a justify content and align items to the center properties here. Now we're going to be adding some borders here. So we're going to be adding a border to the bottom here, which is going to be 1 pixel. It's going to be solid, and we're going to have the color of D6EAFF. Okay, now we're going to be using this border color and style here for a few more. So we're going to say border and we're going to set the border right to the same thing, and then we're also going to set the border left as well. Let's go find that border left. All right, so right here we're putting a border bottom, right, and left, and if we save this, you'll see that it now looks like this. So we're putting a border around each one of our items. Now you can see here that we have one missing from the top on this one, and then I believe that's it. So we'll go ahead and get to fixing those in just a moment when we go ahead and start to mess with our viewports here. But for now, we're going to go ahead and leave the styles as is. So moving along here, we're going to give a background color to each of our columns of white. And then we're going to set the flex basis by default to be 100%. So this right here is for a mobile viewport. So let's go ahead and open up a media query here for our tablet view, or we're going to set, you can consider this a tablet or a large phone. We're going to set the min width of this media query to be 500 pixels. Close that up. Now inside here, we're going to take off the border left, and we're going to set that to none. All right. And then for the flex basis here, we're going to give this a percentage of 50%, meaning once we get to a minimum width of 500, we'll have a 2-column flex row, or we'll have 4 rows and each row will be 2 columns. And that's going to be it for this media query. Now the next media query we want to target is going to be the minimum width of 900 pixels. Now inside of here, we're going to simply just say the flex basis is going to be 25%, which will give us our desktop view of 4 columns and 2 rows. So if we save this now, you should see it's not going to look any different because we have not set the height property, or I'm sorry, the width property for our images. So let's go ahead and do just that. So in our column here, since we have our, let me go scroll down here, since we have our image nested in our column, or a part of our column, we can simply go ahead and nest our image tag right here in our column. So we're going to say image here, and we're going to give this a max width of 100%. We're going to make the height be auto, and then we're going to give this a transition property here, and we're going to set it to 500 milliseconds, ease, and all. So now if we take a look, we should have that 4-column row that we're looking for here. So let me make sure we didn't miss anything because it's not looking correct at the moment. Let me go ahead and look. Let me see. I think we may have messed something up. Let me go ahead and take a look here. Okay, so the reason why the images are looking like this is because we forgot to add the padding to each one of our columns of 64 pixels. And if we go ahead and add that, that should go ahead and do the trick, and it does. Okay, let me go ahead and mute those Slack notifications once again. So moving along here, we are almost done with this section, but as you can see here on our demo, that's not what I wanted to do. On our demo, when we hover over each one of our images, they go ahead and scale up and they come at us. So an easy way to go ahead and make this happen is with a hover property. So we want to say hover inside of our column here. So each time we hover over our column, we want to go ahead and make this image get larger. So an easy way to do this is we're going to go ahead and target our image property inside the hover, and we're going to be using the transform property here. So we're going to say transform, we're going to say scale, and we're going to scale it up by 1.2. And now since we added this transition to our image, this should scale very smoothly, and it does. That's the wrong one. Of course that one works. So if we look over here now, as we hover over these scale properly, and it looks just like the demo. So we are almost done here. Now to go ahead and show you something that's currently wrong with the section, let me go ahead and add the padding here to make it a little bit more clear. So if we head up to our padding section here where we have all the paddings for our class, we're going to add clients, and I forgot the period here. So if we look at this now, we have the padding added here, which looks great. So the reason, well, sorry, I should back it up here. So one thing we're seeing here is you can see at the top we don't have that border, and then down here we do. So it looks a little bit weird. So what we're going to be using here to fix this is some pseudo selectors, which we have used here already in the project a few times. So what we're going to say here is we want to target some of these columns individually, and the easiest way to do that is with a pseudo selector. So if we actually go ahead and shrink this down, we're going to have to target a few of these columns differently on each viewport. So if we start from the bottom here, You can see that right now we need to put a border top only on the first column. So what we're going to do is we're going to head to our styling section here, or our client section here, and we're going to go ahead and target the cowl, and we're going to go ahead and do, I believe this is a semicolon. I've been saying 2 dots, so I think it's a semicolon, or not semicolon, I think it's just a colon. So we're going to say cowl colon, and we're going to go ahead and select nth child. So we want to select the first one here, and in the first one we're going to simply say we want to put a border top of 1 pixel solid, and then give this a color code of what we've been using, which is going to be D6 EAFF. So if we save that, take a look, and we should have that border on top. Great. So the mobile view is perfect. We don't need to make any more adjustments to the mobile viewport. Now, when we get above 500, that's when we are going to have two different sections, or 2 columns and 4 rows. Now here we also need to go ahead and put a border top on the second column item. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and say cowl nth child, and we're going to say 2, and we're going to put a media query in here to start. So we don't want this column having a border top on the mobile version, so we want to target it only when it's above 500. And if we go to the desktop version, you can see as well we need to go ahead and throw one on top of here. Okay, so let's head back over here, and we're going to copy the same tag right here, and we're going to say border top 1 pixel solid, and that should go ahead and do the trick, and it looks good. Now, one other thing we're seeing here is now the border left of each one of these items is not present, so we need to go ahead and add that. So an easy way for us to achieve that is by using a pseudo selector, which we've been using, of nth child, but instead of going ahead and typing all of them out, we want to select the odd ones. So as you can see here, this is 1. We have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you're seeing a pattern here. All the left ones that are odd need to have the border left. So what we can do, instead of targeting them individually by number, we can also target them by even and odd by typing in odd here in the parentheses. So what we're going to say here is we want to go open a media query again, and I forgot to do a media query for this one, so let's go back up here and do that before we actually have a problem here. So at media, min width, set this to, I believe it was 500 pixels, and then we're going to open up our media query in here, okay, before we forget about that. And there we go. So we're going to go ahead and copy this media query here as well. So for the odd ones, we want to say at a min width of 500, we want to give this a border left of 1 pixel solid, but we also want to get rid of that border left on the desktop version. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say min width of 900 pixels. You want to put the border left back to none. Okay, so if we look at this now, the 2 column 4 row looks great, and we're moving along. So we have the mobile version complete, looks good. Scroll down, everything looks how it should. We move up here to the tablet version, I guess you can call it, and that looks good. But now we still need to make a few adjustments here to the desktop. And as you can see, we need to target 3 and 4 here for the border top on desktop. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing we did over here, only this time I'm going to copy and paste this to save some time. So we're going to go below this right here, and we're going to say nth child 3, and we're also going to target the column nth child of 4. And then on here, we want to change this media query to be 900, so this only takes effect when the viewport is over 900. And then we're going to put that border top on there, and we should be good. Now, the last thing we need to do is for columns 1 and 5, we need to put a border left on desktop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this again to save some time. So we're going to be selecting the column items of 1 and 5. And on desktop, which is min width of 900, we're going to change this border top to border left. And then we should be all set. And there we go. It looks great on all versions. So if we scroll down here and we look at this one more time, On the mobile version, it looks good. Expanding that viewport up to the tablet version, everything looks good. And then getting back to the desktop version, it looks great. So there is probably an easier way to do this. As you can see here, we used a lot of pseudo selectors, but this is the way I chose to do it. If you have a better way, I would love to hear it. You can go ahead and leave those down below in the comments, but that is going to do it for this section. Next up, we're going to be working on the contact form, which we're going to be using Firestore and Firebase to send this data to Firestore. So we'll get to that in the next video.